Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to what did you name the stream this week, man?
Dry ramen episode mayonnaise.
I think that might be the best name for a podcast I've ever heard.
It
I'm one of your
fits.
hosts, Dan, joined as always by completely given up on even trying to be part of this conversation and currently mid combo on pincers, Max.
Correct. Hello.
Steve, you've been kind of quiet tonight. You haven't given me anything to make fun of yet.
No, that's the idea.
And 4K Jeff, you have spent more money on this stream setup. You do realize we're not paying you, right?
I'm fully aware you're not paying me.
How's it going, everybody?
Fine.
Good.
Okay. It's going okay.
It's
Just
fucking
okay.
great.
Just okay.
And
You guys been
great, Steve. Did we get fajita sauce?
Hold on.
Sweet.
Wait a
He's
second.
so invested in this. I love it.
Sorry, that just popped into my mind.
You guys been playing any video games this week? How about you, Steve?
I dropped Final Fantasy World temporarily and went back to Wildlands, and in between they dropped a new update, which I feel is a lot of fun, and it's still broken as shit. So they have like a horde mode now where you defend a base, and it's a lot of fun if you can get people to join you. So I actually went through the steps of fucking with my NAT settings so I could play with other people, and their matchmaking is broken. So as soon as it matches you with one person, it just goes. So you're playing a 4-player game always with 2 people, and that sucks. So I think I played maybe 10 games online and got one where it was a group of 3.
I'll tell you what. I got a copy of Wildlands coming with my other impulse buy this week. So I'll have to jump on there and try to play a 2-person match with you.
Was that in the Humble Bundle too?
That was not in the Humble Bundle. That was when I asked you, all right, sell me on the Division 2. Then, like 30 seconds after finishing that sentence, I bought the Division 2.
You didn't even give me a chance.
No.
Yeah, it's a good mode. It's a lot of fun. It's like the more people you kill, the more resources you get, and then you can either run to the next area because you only have like 60 seconds, or you can run to a shop and try to buy stuff. So they start you out with like the worst weapons. It's like a wave of probably like 20 dudes, and you get a kind of a shitty pistol and a close quarters combat shotgun that only holds 2 shells at a time, which
Kinda
is
like,
useless because it's a wide open area.
Kind of like gun game mixed with a horde mode.
Yeah, it's basically a joke weapon that they gave you. So you always just pistol the first round and then buy whatever weapon you can get away with for the next like 10 waves until you get something better. But like every 5 waves, you can the shop like upgrades, so you can go through the different pages of the up and down grades and buy stuff from before or after, because like there's still always attachments that you can get. It's pretty interesting, but the
That
matchmaking
sounds
is
great.
killer.
I liked it better when it was called Zombies.
Just slamming on the brakes on this podcast. Just bringing it to a halt.
Sounds a lot like Call of Duty Zombies.
Sounds exactly like Call of Duty Zombies.
But do zombies shoot back at you and summon helicopters?
Once. One time. I don't
Max,
like to talk about it.
I hear you might have actually started a new video game.
Yeah, I downloaded Katamari 3 months after I said I would. And the game is a lot harder to control than I remember. I don't remember controlling with 2 joysticks like on the GameCube. I think the GameCube was when it came out, right?
PlayStation.
PlayStation?
2.
Was it?
Yeah, PlayStation 2.
You're playing it wrong. You're supposed to play it while rolling in a dryer.
I mean,
so
that's
you really get immersed in it.
I mean, apparently I'm doing something wrong. But yeah, it's actually really hard to control. I guess you had to use the 2 DualShock joysticks maybe in PlayStation. I just don't remember.
What are you playing it on?
The Switch? What do you mean? It's on the Switch.
So does it give you the option for 2 sticks?
You have to use 2 sticks?
Well, yeah. So
I can't imagine.
There's no difference then from the old one?
I don't know. I haven't played the first one in 20 years. So
I'm shocked.
I just don't remember that it being so hard to control. But yeah, like turning, like the camera controls is kind of what I mean. Like it's really hard to see where you're going. So, I mean, I enjoy the game. I'm pretty sure it's the exact same game It's just, and I'm pretty sure it looks like the PlayStation 2 version, but it's still fun to replay.
Well, since you're getting into old games, you can buy Turok for your Switch next.
Turok, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Jeff,
well, besides
go ahead.
Katamari, Jeff and I have been playing with Maya in PUBG.
Yeah, I even hopped
you
on
joined
one
a
of
little
those
bit.
games.
You joined a little bit, Dan. But
we need to petition ABC for a couple more hours of Grey's Anatomy to get you on there. But
here's the thing. She started to watch Million Little Things, which comes on right after Grey's Anatomy. So I've got 2 hours now.
TV.
Wow, 2 hours.
But I feel like we should have recorded that because children would have laughed at us for how awful we were.
Oh, terrible.
I got knocked down and couldn't figure out how to stand up. Was not great.
It was a good time.
Jeff, let me get my let me get a pillow ready because I'm sure your list is real long.
Not too bad this week.
Do you have the whiteboard out?
I do have the whiteboard out.
Okay.
I was wondering what the fuck Max was doing for like the first 30 seconds. I was like, oh, he's catching Pokemon.
I'm trying to throw the ball to the right, but it just will not go to the right.
Anyway, I beat Far Cry New Dawn and Wargroove this week for games number 3 and 4 on my 2019 Games Beat challenge that I have not told anybody about publicly. But basically, 2019, I want to beat 19 games, keeping track of it, following it on my my Instagram. I played a little bit of Rocksmith 2014. I went old school with Curse of Monkey Island, which is just one of those games from my childhood that I never beat, but love to play. Played a little bit of Mutant Year Zero for my XCOM, but with animals time. And then the next 2 clusters, yes, clusters, have a theme. I played Gran Turismo Sport, Project Cars 2, Forza Horizon 4, Dirt 2.0. Wanted to drive a car this week, but not the one I own in the driveway.
All right, quick review. Which one's best?
Which one do I like best, or which one's best? Because they're two very different things.
Which one do you like best?
I like Forza Horizon 4 the best. Dirt 2 is just absolutely fucking infuriating.
Too simmy.
They put you down like Star Wars level trench, and then like if you hit a pebble, you fucking do backflips and spin out. Then with Mayan, friend of the show, we played PUBG this week. I played Fortnite, and I did a little bit of Call of Duty 4 Battle Royale and got my ass stomped.
Jeez.
That's it.
It's a lot of games. You
Got a
work
lot
a
of time.
full-time job, right?
I do work a full-time job.
You have a girlfriend, right?
I do.
How do you
don't
have
have
time
kids.
for so many video games?
I don't have kids. We hang out enough, and then at night she gets a bath or shower, and then wants her own downtime. She watches TV, reads a book, eats she makes a pretty mean microwave mug cake. So
With
she just
mayonnaise?
no mayo.
Okay.
But she
Yeah,
just unwinds upstairs, and she's in bed by 9:30. So I don't sleep a lot, and I just play games down here, as you can see.
Is your basement soundproof?
Oh fuck no, she hates how goddamn loud I am.
Mm.
I'm gonna hear about it first thing tomorrow morning. She's like, "You were so loud at 9:05."
Jeff, what's your interpretation of Far Cry, the new one? Whatever the fuck
So
it's called.
here's the deal: it's an average game. People are rating it about a 7, 7.4. I liked it. It doesn't overstay its welcome. So it's everything you like about getting into a new Far Cry game, but then it's done by the time you're like, God damn it, I got to go get another outpost, or I got to go upgrade this weapon. I probably padded because I wouldn't pay the microtransaction fee.
Mhm.
I had to just keep giving up my bases and go fighting for them again to get enough for, I think it was called the like hamburger gun or bison gun. You kill a bison and somehow you make a gun out of it. But
course.
it's basically just like a grenade launcher.
Oh, of course.
But,
that's as the Native Americans used to.
Yeah. So,
You've read history books, yeah.
so you've played 5, right?
I have. I've not finished 5, but I enjoyed New Dawn more than 5.
Okay.
I'm a pretty big fan of these $40 use the same engine and assets to make a little like project, like the one that came out after
Blood Dragon.
Uncharted 4. Well, no, I was gonna go different series,
Oh,
but Uncharted Lost Legacy. That was a nice little bite-sized
little
snack to keep me held over because we're probably not going to get another Uncharted game for a long time.
Here's the thing about Far Cry New Dawn, though, is the story. Who gives a shit? It's so you know how every couple weeks a new massively multiplayer online zombie hunting survival game comes out, and the worst part about those is people exist. It's everything I want in that, where you got to kind of survive and craft your own stuff and live in the world, but none of the people. But the story is entirely forgettable. It's just fun to go. I went and hunted bears with dynamite. It's just for fun.
Just like God intended.
I don't know how you hunt bear.
That was my favorite part about Far Cry 3 was that was the introduction of the hunting, and unfortunately they cut it out in 5, but you could just throw a grenade into like a pack of enemies and then just go take the stuff. So there'd be like, hunt this really elusive deer, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna throw a grenade at it and get like 4 of them in a row. Now they're like, oh, if you blow anything up, you ruined whatever loot it had.
I haven't played a Far Cry game since 2, so I'm not really useful for this conversation.
That's a nice segue into the rest of the podcast for these two.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Oh shit! There's a Magikarp behind you.
Shit. Well,
wait, there's a 4th person here.
A man.
Told me...
Wait, can we briefly talk about what Jeff put in Discord? The Tetris 99.
Oh yeah, the
tournament mode or whatever.
The thing I dropped and nobody responded to.
Yeah,
I read it. I'm excited for it. I didn't think I needed to say anything about it. But
you're excited. You have to win. Like you have to win a lot.
A lot.
I mean, I feel like if you just win like twice, that's probably good enough.
To get in the top 999?
Do you know how hard it is to win?
But there's a winner every time.
Yeah, but do you think there's 1,000 people still playing it?
Yeah. I'm not one of them, but I was able to put it down. Oh shit, I'm playing New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe Switch version too. Whatever. Moving on.
Great.
Sorry, I tried.
You've been trying to like subconsciously get us all to play pinball.
Oh, and, it's fucking working. Fortnite's throwing bumpers and flippers in there. It's taken over.
Wait, that was real? I thought that was just a photoshopped image you threw into chat.
I assume it's real. I did no extra.
It's creative mode, so that's not like Fortnite proper. That's like a little sandboxy game. Yeah. There's a Weezer Island if you feel like jumping in there and playing some Fortnite creative.
But to answer your question, I get unreal excited for pinball. It's just so much goddamn fun.
Yes, you do. And you told us to download the Pinball FX3.
Yes.
And there was a free table that we could play, and instead of doing that, I downloaded an emulator and played Kirby's Pinball Land for also 3 hours last night. I had a really good time. I don't know if it says a lot about it as a good game or me as a pinball fan, but that is my favorite pinball game of all time. So I had a really good time.
in emulated pinball.
There are like 300 people that follow that on Twitch, and I thought about streaming it last night to see if like
very quickly
become finally somebody's playing. But so I play a little bit of that. I beat Pikaniku, that game that you guys never heard of. It was
I looked it up when you mentioned it.
It's a fun little game. I had a lot,
and I was like, I don't know what this is.
I had a fun little time.
I don't even remember us talking about it.
You dropped that like I dropped pinball, where you're like, all right, back to Pikaniku, and we're like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I was like, I'm gonna look this up.
I thought that you guys at least would go into your Twitch Prime games and at least claim them.
So you gotta let me know about that.
Do you guys do that? You get free games every month.
Oh, speaking of free games every month, Slime Rancher on the Epic Store, free tomorrow.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
That's a good game.
So start talking about more games you can will into being free.
I think we definitely are 100% responsible for that.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's Mayan's favorite game, so he's probably not excited to hear that.
Yeah,
although he did say, he definitely already owns it. But he was telling me I should definitely play it. So
well, now you have no excuse.
Yeah, you could have played it for free because you could have just played it off my account.
True.
Also that.
So I also
Ryan's free.
you've inspired me to do a 19 games in 2019. So Pikuniku or Pikuniku was my number 2 game that I've beaten in 2019 this year. Number one was Ape Out. The internet has been going crazy for Ape Out.
Have they been going ape shit for Ape Out?
They have been going ape shit for Ape Out. Have you guys seen this game at all? Anything from it?
I want it. For some reason, I have not forced myself to buy it.
I saw an advertisement for it, and I think there was an article that popped up on Kotaku, but the singular picture I saw looked like shit, and I was like, nope.
I mean, it really oozes style. Like, I guess if you don't like the style of it, that's one thing, but it's definitely not an ugly game.
2022, though, he'll be all over it.
Yes, when it is 79 cents on Steam sale.
This looks like
the discount code.
What is that game called? Super Hot, almost. Except
kind
not
of
3D.
Yeah, a lot of people have been comparing it to Hotline Miami, since it's a Devolver Digital game. It's nothing like it's literally nothing like Hotline Miami. It's a cool game. I mean, it's the style is really cool visually. There's just a guy playing a trap set in the background, and cymbals crash every time you kill somebody. So the music is constantly evolving with what you play. I mean, it's a really, on paper, a fun game that will lead us directly into our first topic, completely ruined by procedural generation. The map and the enemy placement is completely random. So, you play this game over and over again to get through a level, and I never felt like I was actually getting any better at the game. I was just getting a better layout of enemies, and that's the only time I would beat a level. Like, I would go in and they would drop 10 enemies right in front of the entrance, and I'd die right away one time, and then the next time I'd run, I wouldn't run into an enemy until halfway through the level. So it would be like, have you guys played Hotline Miami?
It's a pretty good game, yeah.
It would be like if that game was procedurally generated, where they would just drop random enemies all over the place, and there would be no strategy to making your way through the level.
Is there no strategy, or is this one of those times where you're just not get good enough at it?
I mean, maybe I might not be get good enough, but like there's just it doesn't give you the opportunity to, because you can't learn what enemy is going to be, because the walls are really high, so you can't see very far out ahead of you, so you can't plan. So you gotta kind of like sneak in a little bit and like get a little idea of what's in there. And the game works great when you're going real fast and you're just running into a room and you're pushing a guy against. There's only 2 buttons in the whole game either. There's push and grab. So you can push an enemy against a wall and they blow up, or you can grab an enemy and they start firing their gun, and you can use them as a shield and then use their gun until they stop shooting.
Well, so that's how Hotline Miami was. Like, you can play slow and deliberate, but usually just going balls out and as fast as humanly possible would win you more often than not.
And in Hotline Miami, you would have an idea, like after you've done it maybe 2 or 3 times and you failed, exactly where the enemies are. So I'm going to go into this room, I'm going to pipe this guy, I'm going to spin around, I'm going to shoot this guy, and you can make little plans. And I feel like if they would have actually taken the time to build a level and make it so that you could strategically plan your way through, Ape Out might be one of my favorite games. But the fact they have not done that, go ahead.
Are you going to go back and play it again?
There's an arcade mode that I need to peek into and make sure that that's not exactly this. I don't think it is. I would imagine it's still procedurally generated. No, probably not. If they come out with a patch and say, all right, we crafted 3 levels and they are what we want them to be, we designed what the hallways look like, we designed where the enemies are, I'll go back in a heartbeat. But if they just, I don't have any interest in doing it again.
Even though it's random.
Because
you're saying that if it was planned out and you played through it the first time, you would play through it again knowing where everything is?
No, so it can be random, but once I enter the zone, if it would stay the same after I died, that would be one thing. It's random every time you die.
That's weird then.
So you can't, like, you die, and like say it'll be something cheap, like there'll be a bunch of flamethrowers right at the start, and you can't get near a flamethrower guy. You'll just get lit on fire right away. So you die, and then you zone in the next time, and you'll start running, and you won't run into an enemy for half the level. Like there won't be a single enemy because they clustered them all together in a spot that you don't even need to go to. So you don't get any better at it. You just get a better layout of enemies, and that's how you beat the game. You just keep dying until you get a layout of enemies that you can deal with.
That sounds like a lot less fun.
It is. It's not. It really let me down. Like I really wanted to like the game because when it's right, oh my god, it's so right. You fly in there and you grab somebody, and you do this, and it's so cool. But the moments when that happens are so few and far between because you have to rely on randomness to get you there.
It sounds like they.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, would the game be too easy if you could plan your way around it? Like, would there be any point to playing it if you know, okay, just hold this guy, throw him, and then you're done?
I mean,
10
you
points.
You could have both. I don't understand why they couldn't just make a base level that they designed that's fluid and fun to go through, and then throw in that procedural generation crap to have the longevity of the game. But just like one level of this is we've played this and we've determined this to be a very fun way to play this level, I think could do wonders for this game.
How much is it?
$20.
$20. And what did you play it on?
Switch.
20.
Yeah, I thought it was 15. I was like,
no, it might be 15.
It's 15 on Steam at least.
Okay. It might be 15.
So it sounds like the idea is fine, but there's some core issues with it, like if maybe the difficulty scaling was a little bit more smoothed out, so you're not running into like 10 dudes right off. Sort of like what was that? Rogue Legacy. Did you guys ever play that?
I own it. Does that count?
Either Rogue Legacy or like I was playing that Dung Greed game, which is also procedurally generated. But as you progress through the rooms, they get harder. It's not just like, oh, I've run into room 1, there's 20 traps and 7 enemies, like immediately there, and you just get fucked right in the face and it's over. Because it sounds like sometimes you're kind of running into that issue. So they need to pattern it a little bit better so you're going from, easier to harder instead of just so random that you can get totally like just garbage right in the beginning.
And they really incentivize you to just not care and just kind of fly in and die and just wait for a better layout. Like it's a lot easier.
I think a lot of the appeal is it's just a fuck around simulator where you run around making as much destruction as you can until you die.
Yes and no. I mean, I don't know. When you said super hot, like if it had super hot mechanics, like I think
while you were describing it, I thought that would be crazy amount of fun in VR.
Yeah, it's if they had super hot mechanics, even like the exact same mechanics where shit would slow down and like nothing would move until you moved and you could plan out what you were going to do, I think that would make the game really cool.
So I don't know, the game doesn't look interesting to me. It looks like garbage. It's totally the farthest thing from interesting, but it does sound like there are a couple of quality of life things that would radically change the game for you. Like you said, maybe if you had like 5 lives until you had to play the level over again, and they reset it, like the level resets where it kept all of the enemies and layout, but you only got 5 attempts at that. Or you had to refresh the whole thing. But just running in all at once, or how many levels are there?
There are 4 discs. It's kind of like this has this old movie motif.
Yeah.
Where it's like film reels. So each film reel, there's 4 film reels. They're all different scenarios, and then each one of those has 8 levels in them.
So if you die at any one of them, what is the reset point?
Back to the beginning of the chapter, like 8. So like there are 4 on each side of each reel, and you just go back to the beginning of the chapter. You don't go back to the beginning of the entire scenario.
Okay, so basically you have to go nuts and just try to get through, what is it, like 4 or 8 stages till you get to like a save-ish point.
No, the save points are every 8. Like you'll go through one level and then you go back Now you're on level 2, and when you die at level 2, you go back to the start of level 2. You never have to go back to 1.
Oh, okay.
At least in the regular mode. I think arcade mode might be different. I got to do a little bit of research on that, but it just it left a sour taste in my mouth, and I just didn't feel like playing it anymore. I mean, you don't understand. Like the social media influencers that I follow were all about this game, and I, usually when something like that happens, it usually ends up being something that satisfies me a little bit, and it just really didn't.
Yeah, I for one am not one to let people influence me to buy games. So I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, because you just buy them all. You don't need to be influenced.
That's correct. It's the quickest way to get past their marketing bullshit.
So this led me to think, I don't know that I've ever played a game that I liked procedural generation in. And do you guys have anything on your palette, on your plate that you've played in the past that you think that being procedurally generated added to the value of the game?
So they're usually like a Metroidvania kind of game that are procedurally generated, and I, for the life of me, cannot get into that genre.
That's interesting. Yeah. I
feel
like that. I feel like Metroidvania. Like I'm surprised you don't have Metroidvania tattooed on you. You just exude that vibe.
I have a tramp stamp of a dolphin above my ass crack jumping out of a net into a can of tuna.
Playing pinball.
I don't know.
Pinball, yeah.
I've only known you for a little bit, so I don't know if you're joking or not.
Well, that's half the fun of watching the podcast, isn't it?
Is he quoting basketball? I don't know.
Not yet. Give it time. It'll devolve.
But Steve, you said you played Dungreed.
I've played a shit ton of games that have procedurally generated stuff, and I don't think I would have liked many of them without it. Like my favorite game of all time being Terraria. Each world is randomly generated, kind of like Minecraft is. So
that's the second time today I've heard Minecraft. Can somebody explain this to me?
No. So, but there's like sky islands with chests in them. Chests are randomly placed everywhere when you finally hit like the hell level, because you're always just looking for chests in each strata or building stuff. Or they even did it so the world can have different biomes in them. Like you either have corruption or you have like plague as like the main evil force in your world, or certain types of ores will or won't appear. But I don't think that game would have been as good as it is if the world was static, because eventually you're just going to get that thing where there's going to be a guide that's like, here's how to beat the game in 10 seconds by going to point 4-3, drilling straight down, picking up the chest with the ultimate weapon, and then cheesing the game. I think that's a game that needs procedurally generated world, and the gameplay is kind of static or whatever from there. Dungreed is another one. If every time you walked into that dungeon it was the same, that game would be boring as shit. It needs to.
So here's my question. So this Dungreed sounds like it's more of the kind of game that I'm posing this question towards. If somebody actually took the time to make a level of Dungreed, or however the scenario of Dungreed, you don't think it would be any good? Like,
no, I know where you're going with it, but no, it wouldn't, because the whole purpose of that game is like the live, die, repeat, but there is persistent progression. So you are getting to walk out with XP, so your character is leveled. You get to walk out with a little bit of money so you can fix up the town to try to make your runs better and more efficient. But if the first level was always the same,
no, I'm not saying that. They can be random, but if it was a person making the level, a million people making the levels, and you got a different level every time, but it was made by somebody that took care and crafted the level, would it break the game, or would it be better?
I guess, but I'm not sure how you do that, because you either have to open it up to the public to have them craft it, which you're just going to get shit. It's the open internet. You're just going to get piles of shit. Or you have to spend forever to sort of vet these things, and then what's the point? That's what the procedural generation is for.
It's because it's lazy and it's easy. You can make a game with more playability without actually making a game good.
What about like games like Diablo?
Yeah,
like aren't all the dungeons like random?
Yeah, the layout is random each time. Borderlands, the guns were random. I actually pulled up a list because I was like, what are some examples? And there was a ton of them on there. Civilization, the worlds are procedurally generated. Actually, a lot of them are world building. Left 4 Dead 2, the gameplay changes to match the player's performance, such as enemies that come at you, paths, and weather, which I forgot about that one. So that was on there. Spelunky, the entire game. Stardew Valley, it's mostly dungeons. Well, that's what it's for the most part. And then occasionally you'll see something like oddball, like the Borderlands weapons stuff. But mostly it's just the worlds.
It's kind of like an indie game crutch where they lean on that, where they go, well, you're not going to pay $60 for this, but we can charge you 15 or 20 and you're going to get a lot of replay out of it. There might just not be a lot of game to it.
Yeah, I mean I can't think of a good example of this right now, so you're just going to have to, either believe me or not, but I have a feeling that the best procedurally generated dungeon is nowhere as good as the best handcrafted by a team of people dungeon. Like, you could procedurally generate a Zelda dungeon, but it wouldn't be good. Like, it wouldn't be nearly as good as the one that they crafted for you. Yes, I understand.
No, you are correct, but you're missing the point of what it's for, though, because in a Zelda dungeon, you're going into the dungeon once and you're done, and then you never have to go back again. Whereas any game that has
because you're going to go into a different dungeon. Yeah, I don't want to go back into that same dungeon.
Yeah, they've got like 8 of them that they made by hand. They're interesting. You're good to go. But when you're playing these other games, you usually, by the nature of them, you're going into them again and again and again, level 1, trying to get to level 8. If it was the same thing, then you might as well just pop in Mario.
It's more a test of your ability at that point to see if you can handle curveballs being thrown at you.
Yeah, or at least like, even in Dungreed, the first level is never a challenge, right? It's all about seeing what pops up in between. Is there anything interesting or helpful, or maybe a choice that isn't helpful? What kind of treasure can you get to take you to the next area, because it's a roguelike, and maybe you get some good stuff, maybe you don't. You have to make some choices and then move on. But if it was the same pattern, even if it was a handcrafted, well done thing, it would get way too fucking boring, because you're playing it every single time you start up that game. It's the first level over and over again. It's a different type of game. So
yeah, no, I understand. So what it sounds like is Ape Out just was not the style of game that should have been procedurally generated.
Yeah, it sounds like you're pissed at Ape Out and you're trying to drag it into other games.
Well, it just doesn't. I've never really been a big fan of the rogues.
Did Ape Out eat mayonnaise on celery in front of you? Is that what?
No. Yeah. What did he do wrong?
Do you have to excuse yourself from the room? But no,
it's just definitely... I just thought it would be and I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on every procedurally generated game, because I haven't played them all, so I'm not somebody that can be like considered an expert on them. But Ape Out just put such a sour taste in my mouth for just the whole procedurally generated idea that and nobody talked about it. Like, I felt like a crazy person. Like, I'm looking on the internet, like, somebody has to agree with me. Like, this game wasn't that good. Everyone's like, it's game of the year. It's awesome, man. You gotta play it. Greg Miller's over there like losing his goddamn mind. And I'm like, I don't think this is a very good game.
I do like March 6th. We've crowned game of the year already.
Yeah. No, the game looks like shit, and I'm not interested in it. And by what you're telling me, it's just taking me further and further away from even like.
I mean, if you don't like the looks of it, I mean, I don't know. That's an opinion.
You did move me to a price cut.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the type of game that I'd be interested in. Basically, wasting my time on. I've got other games that I want to play, but I think procedurally generated stuff has a specific niche for it, and it's usually used for that. Like, did anybody here ever play Spelunky?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I played it like once or twice, so I know what kind of game it was, but that's not going to be the same game if the first level was the same. It would basically then be Mario. You would just try to get from level 1-1 to 8-3.
I think what it boils down is I would just rather play Mario.
Yeah, and that's fine, but that's just not what that game is meant to be.
I have good news for you, though. Nintendo is willing to sell you Mario. All the Mario you can possibly handle.
Yeah.
again and again. Not even procedurally generated, but that's Mario Maker 2.
Well, yeah, if that's what you want, you get Mario Maker, and
But that's not procedurally generated. It's human generated.
No, I'm saying if that's
I'm not
what
walking
you
this
want,
one
though,
back. I
you
said
want,
it happened.
yeah, you want handcrafted levels made by 4-year-olds and idiots. So go for the fun.
Slam!
Yeah,
That's what this stream might turn into, by the way. Once Pokemon is over.
No. We're full cooking. We're going 100%.
You want to do the Dutch cooking stream?
Yes, I've learned how to make frikandel. I've learned how to make that other thing that they were talking about. I'm gonna make it next week. I'll have you guys over for frikandel.
Okay. Didn't you just say it was hot dogs?
It's essentially a deep fried hot dog.
Okay.
So it's like a corn dog.
Not really. You don't put a batter on the outside of it. So you take ground
meat.
chicken and ground pork, and you mix it together with some spices, and then you put it inside some saran wrap, and you boil it until it's most of the way done, and then you pull it out, and then you can either fry it right away. You can put it in the refrigerator.
so you made sausage and an inedible casing.
No, you take it out of the saran wrap.
Well,
I have
yeah.
Two questions for you. What is the percentage of mayonnaise in this food item?
None. You don't put any mayonnaise in this.
That's where you went wrong first.
They have a spicy ketchup that they call curry, which is really confusing.
Yeah, I was told that's basically Chipotle sauce.
Yeah.
Question number 2. Do you serve it on a bed of dry ramen with sprinkled seasoning?
I didn't get to the bed yet. It's puff pastry. You lay out some puff pastry and then you fold a nice little pattern on the top side of it.
There is kind of a dough. It's just a thin hot dog.
Yeah, so it's a hot dog on a crescent roll.
Yes.
So pigs in a blanket.
Yeah,
just
a hot dog.
It's like a super hipster crap food that they'd sell at parties.
I feel like I need a soul patch for this one.
I don't think
Dutch.
they have any.
It's Dutch.
They don't have any hipsters in.
It's
in
their
the
national
Netherlands.
food.
Yeah, you don't talk shit on Dutch food in this channel, or else we're gonna lose all of the people that watch this.
I
lose
hear
like
Black
half
Talk's
or so.
pulling out right now.
All those subs from that random gas station in Kazakhstan are just gonna go like right out the window.
Thinking of pulling mine too.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to Frikandel Talk. I'm your host, Dan. Anyways, I think that's all we need to talk about Procedural Generation. I need to go and play some other games.
That's all?
This
We only
sour
did, like,
taste.
25 minutes on it.
Yeah, that's why there wasn't that many topics today, because I figured this would go places. But so Dead or Alive 6 has a $93 season pass.
Jesus
All right,
Christ. Nerds, dorks, dweebs, listen to me. Do not buy that shit. Like, you can find everything you want to get out of the $93 season pass on the internet. And you can get a better fighting game for less than $60.
Is Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball still a thing?
Oh, most definitely. It's called Dead or Alive Extreme.
I played some knockoff version of that way back in the GameCube days, and they screwed it up because the emphasis was supposed to be on the girls, but the volleyball game was so good. That's all I played it for.
Sure.
Yeah, the jiggle
Old
physics.
one-handed volleyball games you used to play.
No, the actual gameplay was like I played with my brother a bunch because it was like he always liked sports games. I fucking hated them.
They played
And
back to back.
This was the only like bridge game that we could.
I was gonna let that shit go.
No, I think I remember this volleyball game because I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure I played it too.
I vaguely
Yeah.
remember hearing about
Because
it.
then I was like, why should we play the knockoff one when you can play the Dead or Alive, like the one that's supposed to have jiggle physics? And I think I picked that one up, and I was like, it's a bunch of shitty mini games and really bad volleyball, and I just went back to the other one just to play the volleyball.
I think I had Extreme. Either that or I rented it from Blockbuster. I rented a lot of video games from Blockbuster. I thought the volleyball was okay. I mean, it wasn't Super Strike volleyball for the NES good, but it was pretty good.
No, it was definitely like nothing but fan service, and then a sprinkling of what like a shitty game that you threw together overnight would be like.
Yeah, you're describing Dead or Alive 6 with its $93 season
So,
pass.
Here's
Volume
the thing.
1. It's
All right,
the
I'm gonna devil's advocate this here. I think that this $93 season pass is a good thing.
I think you're a fucking liar.
Yeah.
What
I
would
think
you
you're an
what would
idiot.
you rather what would you no, I'm not saying that I would ever spend this kind of money on a season pass like this or literally any of the things that come in it.
I
But-
know you posted what's in it on the rundown, so rundown as quick as possible. What's in this
Please, God, don't.
$93 season pass?
Just fucking skip that.
Happy Wedding Costumes Volume 1.
Oh shit, I'm in.
Happy Wedding Costumes Volume 2.
Take my money.
Costume Pack Volume 1. Costume Pack Volume 2. Additional character, My Sharona. My Sharona's debut costumes. Other additional character and their debut costumes. All for a grand total of $93.
Dead or Alive character.
So, I mean, I did a little research. In Dead or Alive 5, a character was normally $4. A costume pack was $20 and a debut set was $10. So you are saving a little bit of money that if you were planning on buying all this, if that's your thing where you need to have all the costumes, you need to have all the wedding costumes, Volume 1 and Volume 2. I mean, more power to you. I would much rather see this monetization style than for them to sell digital currency that went into a loot box type situation where you got a chance at getting a costume. This is a way more fair situation than what, EA is doing.
It's fair, but still super predatory.
How so? How is it more predatory than the gambling mechanics of a loot box?
Who's the target audience for Dead or Alive?
I would imagine
sad, desperate nerds.
Yes.
So you're separating sad, desperate nerds from their money when they could just Google Dead or Alive jiggle physics and get everything you need out of that game in a 4-minute YouTube video.
I mean, they obviously, but I still don't think it's predatory. I don't think it's even close to predatory. By your logic, literally selling anything to anybody would be predatory.
So you think $93 is a fair price point for 2 characters and some wedding dresses?
It is if the costume packs are $20. I mean, I think the only reason we're talking about this is because they made a season pass that was $93. If they just would have sold this stuff all separate in $20 increments because I think $4 is super fair for a character.
For a character, yeah. For a skin, basically, that seems insane to me that it's $20.
I mean, I think it's crazy, but it's a free market. They can if they're going to tell, and you know exactly what you're getting for that $20. I'm sure you can look at pictures of what you're getting.
What was the name of the second character you listed?
Additional new character.
You know exactly what you're getting.
I'm not talking about with the season pass. When you sign up for a season pass, you need to know that you're taking a complete gamble, because a lot of times you have, like, I signed up for the Smash Brothers season pass only knowing that Joker is coming. I'm taking a leap of faith that they're going to put 4 other characters that I enjoy, but I have faith that it's going to be something I want. If you're a Dead or Alive person that's going to spend $93, you have faith that they're going to put some stuff in there that you want.
Meanwhile, the season pass for Wildlands, people are all pissed off about it because so far there's only been 2 DLCs and their combined total isn't worth the season pass.
I mean, that
out for what, 2 years now? 3 years maybe?
Well, there's only 2 like actual DLCs, but I looked into them when I was enjoying the game, and they're shit because they're basically like side games, so that you don't play them in the same like campaign or world, and they don't really carry anything over. And I don't know, the one is garbage because it's all about vehicles, and the vehicles in that game drive like shit, so why would I want to play a whole DLC around that? The other topic that I'll wait for you to finish your season pass rant on is just the general price of downloadable content in general, because theirs is ridiculous. But I'll come back to that.
We're there. The only thing that I think that not should be commended, but shouldn't be vilified for this high price, is that they're not doing the predatory. It's only 99 cents for one more pull, and you might get that costume you want. I think that's way more egregious.
Loot boxes are bullshit. But here's what bothers me about the $93 season pass. One implies that they're planning more that they're going to charge you for later. So my assumption is if this was 15 years ago, this is shit that would have been on the disc, would have been an unlockable. You beat the game, you get it. Now they're unofficially, intentionally holding back content to charge you more for a base game you've already bought into.
Yeah, welcome to gaming in 2019.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that pretty much every game nowadays?
Yeah, but because you bought into that ecosystem, you have a little bit more pressure to keep up with If you're into the online element of it, you want to have everything that everybody else has to stay with the people you're playing against.
See, I don't mind that so much though, because basically outside of the few characters, it's all enthusiast grade material is what we're talking about. Because if you just want to try this game out, you pay your $1 to $60, check out the different characters. If you decide you want some costumes, sure. If you absolutely fall in love with the game and you want to support them and give them money, there's plenty of opportunity to do it. But this game doesn't, as far as I'm aware, does not have a huge following behind it. And so for me, all of this DLC falls in line with what Dan had posted before about like Euro Truck Simulator, where that's actually a legitimately good game if you just want to chill out and try to drive a truck. So it didn't surprise me that when he said that and I checked it out, they had like a ton of DLC. It was like $180 worth. And I'm like,
there's almost $3,000 worth of DLC for Euro Truck Simulator.
Oh, whatever. It doesn't matter though, because that's all enthusiast grade stuff. It doesn't do anything to change the game. It's like if I want to drive a Volvo and I'm gonna give them the license money for it, sure, why not? I mean, have you guys ever even looked into the train simulator shit?
I'm currently doing that now.
It's $8,700. There's 500 DLCs for it, and that's fine because it's basically a digital train set. So they're buying the license, putting it on there. 10 to 100 people are going to buy it, and that's fine. It doesn't do anything for anybody else. It's a small niche pool of people that want to get in on it, and so that's what you do. They're buying their digital Legos and they're having fun with it. So
you know what?
That doesn't bother me.
I'd take it back. If you want to buy the season pass for Dead or Alive 6, go buy the season pass.
So want it. He's doing it. He's gonna buy it.
Yeah, he's doing it right now. Break out the credit card, Jeff.
This is the part where I tell you I bought it already, right?
but this
I'm
is
playing
where
it right now.
This is where Dan has it right though. Is they're not fleecing their people by doing some bullshit loot boxes, and while the prices are exorbitant, it's for the people who are into that. It's for that specific market, which is the issue that I'm running into with Wildlands, because I'm really enjoying the game. And one of the things I was looking for was I kind of wanted to mimic, in a weird way, some actual firearms that I own, which means I need a pump action shotgun. And there exists one in the game. And I was like, oh, you can buy individual weapons. Let me check it out. Load it up. It's like 1,200 credits for this shotgun. It was like, okay, how much are credits? It's $5 for like 800 of them. And I was like, I have to pay nearly $10 for a digital shotgun, and there's like tons of shit to buy in this game, and there's even loot boxes in it too for more stuff. And way back in the day, I think maybe our first or second episode we ever talked about, it was the same deal where I was like, I'm not going to pay that much because that's nearly the price of just a different game. So is it worth it to have a bunch of DLC cosmetic stuff and charge really low prices and net more people that don't care and they'll just spend like $1 to $3 for a random weapon or skin or whatever? Or is it worth it to go for the whales where you have to spend a ton of money? Or like the DLC for that game, right? How many people need to buy the $100 pass? Is it going to be to outweigh the random people that just bought like one or two of the packs?
I'll tell you what swayed me, because I turned to my left and I saw my pinball table there.
Mm-hmm.
I said, how much have I spent on Pinball FX 3 tables?
Yeah.
And if I would have bought them all at full price, didn't, it would have been $249.71. But to me, that's worth it. That's why I'm wrong. You are correct.
I'm not trying to be correct or anything. I'm not trying to commend them for anything. It's still ridiculous, and I hope nobody buys it, and I hope they realize that it's too expensive. They could have done way worse. They could have put these in loot boxes.
Yeah.
So the pricing, we're all agreeing, is too high.
Oh,
but
definitely.
But the method,
these jiggle tits prices are just too high.
But the funny thing is they took out all like the skimpy outfits out of the base game, and they try to get like commended, like, oh look, they're with the times.
They're behind a paywall now.
They're not gonna have these skimpy girls in their game. Yeah, they're gonna make you pay extra for that.
So they took their bread and butter, and they charged you more for it.
Well, I think Dead or Alive 5 is free, and you just got to pay for the costumes. If I looked that up properly, the base game is no money.
I wonder what that sold lifetime, costume wise.
I mean, if that's the case, then they took the Path of Exile model, where Path of Exile is free, but all of the game funds go from like purchasing things for your account that don't really have that much of an effect on the game, or skins and stuff. And people will do that all the time because they love that game and they want to support them. So it's kind of like that. I would be pissed if I paid a $60 entry fee to the game and then they're like, oh, by the way, we've got $200 worth of extra DLC shit if you want it. And I'm like, come on, I already paid $60 to get in here.
No, I mean, I completely understand, and I would love to be, 5 years ago me, just that pissed off that, oh man, if you have your DLC out already, you knew what this was going to be. You should just put it in the game. I used to be mad about this, but I just I'm numb to it now.
It's don't get me wrong. I'll pay for DLC, but not $93.
No, once I've completed a game, I'm done with it. I don't know that Zelda Breath of the Wild was probably my favorite game of the last decade.
Bitch, I never played that DLC I paid for.
I didn't buy it because I knew I wasn't interested in it. I don't even want to really go back and play it anymore. I'm not a completionist. I like to roll the credits and be done with something.
I keep getting the itch to go back to it, but it's been about a year since I picked it up.
It hurts. It's so hard to get the timing back to try to reflect things and parry things correctly.
So Dan isn't a big shopper into this, but Jeff, I've got that question for you. Is that if you played a game where they had a bunch of cosmetics and you were into it, are you more likely to spend like $20 on a DLC pack, or if it was one of these things where they just had a ton of stuff but it was all relatively cheap, would you just piecemeal way more money into it doing that?
I would probably go for like waiting for a season pass to hit a sale to pick it up, because I mean I've bought stupid shit DLC. For Persona 5, I bought the Catherine costume set, and it's just because I absolutely love the game Catherine, and I want to let Atlas know financially that I like the game Catherine.
Yeah, you vote with your wallet. But I was thinking about this the other day because I picked up a new random mobile game, and I was having a little bit of fun with it, even though I'm not going to finish it. And I paid how they always net you with those beginner offers where it's like $2.99 for a bunch of the random crap.
After an ad for a match 3 game, yeah.
Well, I was like, I'm sure tons of people have bought that like $2.99 for a bunch of the instant boosters or whatever sale that they always throw at you when you first download it. But
how many That's what
how many people do they net into that over like the 1 or 2 whales that come in and buy the $200 here's a million gems pack? Because
I would say anywhere between 1 to 5% of your player base.
Yeah, I can find you good statistics on this, because somebody did a pretty decent article, and I'll get it. It might have been Kotaku or somebody, where they went and found out what the breakdown of where money comes from, and it's something crazy, like 95% of a game's revenue that's made in a the predatory loot box style game mechanics comes from 1% of players. They don't.
Loot boxes are different because that appeals to people who have gambling issues or more money than sense. I mean, even I was trying to figure out, because there's 3 different loot boxes in Wildlands, and only one of them contains weapons. I wasn't sure which one, so I was looking at it. There was a Reddit thread where this kid was like, I was just a little bit curious, so I spent $50 and bought the loot boxes to see how long it would take to get a legendary, because in Wildlands, they do that no repeating loot. You always get something new until basically you can't buy loot boxes anymore because you've gotten everything. And he was wondering how long it would take to get a gun. And he's like, my interpretation is it wasn't worth it. And everybody's like, but you're the guy who's who's making this go forward because you bought $50 in loot boxes where the rest of us don't even want to chance it. But I'm talking about that market where you can buy individual pieces that aren't. So I'm on the fence as to if they're catching the enthusiast and the big fish by having weapons and boots and backpacks that literally cost, 8 to 10 or $20 a piece in real life money for them. If that winds up netting you more money than just having a ton of stuff that's cheap, because I would have bought a bunch of stuff by now if it was cheap. Or is it one of those like corporate decisions where they're
there are people way smarter than us with data that we aren't privy to that can tell you exactly what it is.
Yeah, I just wonder, but I find it annoying because there's stuff that I'd like to play with, but I'm not going to spend that much money on it, and it's never going to come down because it's their in-shop stuff.
We can look at Dota 2, I think, for like a pricing guide or how they go about doing this. Like they do have their loot boxes, but they have the free drops. And you're asking Jeff, would you play a game enough to like buy a skin? Or would you like a game enough that you've played a whole bunch to like, do that?
I've done it.
I mean, I've done it too. I've done it for Dota 2. Like I put thousands of hours into that game and I bought one set for like one character that I played all the time. So I mean, I think there's I think there's a ton of people like kind of like me that would do that.
Let me ask you, what did you pay for the skin?
I think it was like $20, something like that.
Yeah.
And it has absolutely no effect on the game other than slightly different looks. Yeah, like there's no gameplay difference, I would say.
That would be a completely different can of worms if it's, pay to win.
Oh yeah.
We don't have time to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
That's the enthusiast grade stuff. It's like if you're playing Magic, right? If you just need to build a specific deck, you're going to cheap out and you're going to build, Wrath of Gods and whatever else. But if that's going to be like your favorite fucking deck of all time, you're going to go look for foil judge promos. You're going to pimp it out. You're going to buy the good sleeves. You're going to waste money on it because that's your shit now. But
you want to.
Yeah. But for the non-enthusiasts, the drive-by consumers, I'm just wondering if you would make more money by having a friendlier entry fee into that, because I mean, I know I'm not going to play Wildlands forever, but I'm like, yeah, that's a cool shotgun. I'd love to buy it. Not going to pay that much money for it.
Does Wildlands, we'll wrap this up here after one more question. Is there any way to get that shotgun besides in-game currency or out-of-game currency? There's no like in-game currency you can pay with or random drops?
It's a really convoluted system because I told you they have 3 different loot rates. So 2 of them you can slowly earn in-game currency. They do not contain weapons though, and the ones that do contain weapons don't have like special pay-only weapons. I think it comes in like a Yeti Hunter pack, so you do have to spend that much money for it because you'll also get,
if it has Yeti on it, it's probably really expensive. Do you see how expensive those coolers are?
Yeah, no shit. Well, that also kind of bothers me because a lot of the special stuff that you get, you can't change. So I don't want like a bright blue icy looking shotgun. I would want to color it, and they're like, no, you spent $8 for the special skin, now it's stuck on there forever. I'd be like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck's going on here?
All right, I want to hit this last topic real quick because I want to ask Steve a question. Discless Xbox. The best thing about it is it's making everyone say dickless Xbox.
Yeah, I was gonna say dickless Xbox. Can't wait.
Fractured butthole all over.
Yeah, it's called the Xbox One S All Digital Edition. Has to be the worst fucking name for a console ever. Steve, how cheap would this thing have to be for you to be interested in it? And I'm gonna start at, let's say, $150. Does it need to be cheaper than $150
for a console?
Yeah.
That I'm not in the market for?
Okay, I'm just, how cheap do I have to go? 100.
Let me think about it for a moment.
Why does he want to purchase it?
It just at what point does it just become, you tell me I can get an Xbox for this much money and then you just fucking do it because it's so cheap?
All right, well, let's flip that on its head. Ask me how much I would pay for that fucking PlayStation Classic. It's the same
Well, it's
thing.
getting real close. It's down to
right
like
now, and I have
$40. Yeah.
not pulled
Yeah.
the trigger yet.
I mean,
Yeah,
a Switch. How much would you pay for a Switch? Like a thing you would actually use?
Yeah,
$10,000.
that's different because the
We're
Switch
gonna go
has,
up in price, not down.
Only if the Switch comes with bridal costume package 1 and 2 will I pay 10 grand for it.
Happy
I mean-
wedding costume.
Happy wedding, sorry.
Get it right.
Unfortunately, you'd probably have to get
Apologies to
real
Cody.
low because I'm not in the market and I don't have a use for it because like I would want to buy a Switch if I could find one cheap
Okay,
because
well-
I could be on the couch and play it, but I can't really do that with a console.
Let me propose one more thought experiment to you. What if it included a long trial of Game Pass? Let's say a year. Do you know what Game Pass is?
Yeah, I know what a Game Pass
It's
is.
like 200 games that you could play, and there's
before
current
you-
ones in there. They're
Before you
they just
answer,
added
you can
just cause
also
for
play it on your computer.
some of
Yeah,
the games. Some
I
of the
saw
games you
that
can
in
play.
chat and I was like, what's the point? I would just play it on the computer.
Only
So I
only the new games are play anywhere games. The older games aren't there yet.
No.
Soon there. I mean, we could get into a whole other topic of a window beta that has some lines of code in it that actually allow you to play native Xbox games, but that's not talk for 1 minute over the hour.
All right, I'm gonna flip this on its head, and I'm gonna say, this basically is a Steam box, but it's the Microsoft Steam box.
It's the Xbox. It plays the Xbox games.
But
Stuff is still made to play on this thing. It's not
Yeah,
like a Steam
but-
box where there's
but
different
if it-
levels.
If it's a disc-less console, then
Nice.
it literally is a Steam box. It's
I
just
mean, I guess.
What
Yeah,
if I
that's it.
told you that Game Pass came with KC Powell 2016 lacrosse? That help sell you at all?
oh shit.
Hidden gem that never drops in
You
price.
know what? I'm sorry, but I already brought like Brian Ashton's cricket like 10 years ago, and I still got to beat that.
All right.
No, but that is the question. Really, is they basically made a Microsoft branded Steam box, and I was really interested in the Steam box back in the day. Right now, in my current state of life, it's not interesting. I wouldn't need it, so I wouldn't spend any money on it. Now, if we went back in time like 10 years and Steam box flopped, but you have a Xbox streaming box basically.
It's not a streaming box though. That's not.
the-
It's not what. It's
it's
not what.
just-
It's
not
literally
streaming,
just an
but you-
Xbox without a disc drive. It's the same stuff. Like you still
It's a
buy your
dickless
games.
Xbox.
But you still have to download the fucking game.
Yeah, but
onto
I
the
download
box.
all my games anyways. I haven't used the disc drive on any of my things in 5 years.
But that's what Steam is. You download the fucking games and you play them. It's the same thing. It's just it's the
Priced
Windows
higher, though.
Xbox. Yeah,
With less sale opportunity.
but that's what we're talking about. It's basically a Steam box, but it's
Everything's going to be a
Xbox.
Steam box in
Yeah.
5 years. So
So if like 10 years ago, before I had kids and I had plenty of time, would I be interested in something like that? Actually, yeah, because I wanted a Steam box, and this is just the alternate brand of it. I'd be super psyched if there was a PlayStation version, because PlayStation has a lot more interesting games than Xbox. So basically, if you had what is their marketplace called? PS Now, PS Wow, whatever the fuck it is.
They're digital PlayStation now.
Yeah, so that's the exact same thing. Is you basically download games to your console, so eliminate the disk drive, and you now have their marketplace on a piece of hardware. It's a Steam box, just not Steam. That's something that I think would be really, really interesting. But you'd still have to hit that, price margin, because if I buy a console, I usually have that expectation that in that fringe scenario, I could just, as long as I have power, I could play a game. Whereas a lot of these are like online only type things.
Games as a
Well,
service.
we will continue this topic on another day because we have reached our hour.
Stick around to hear about mayonnaise.
I appreciate everyone hanging out in the chat. If you want to watch this later, we're on YouTube. We're also on podcast services. We're still called Random Encounters. I might change it to this. This might be zany enough to get us some of those. What the hell's dry ramen mayonnaise?
I'm super disappointed he didn't eat one like he said he was going to do.
I
It-
forgot.
That's-
You should have told me. I would have done it.
Fucking
That's
psychopath.
That's the 1,000 sub goal.
1,000 subs to eat some ramen. Jeez.
What if I made you a shiny Chansey out of dry ramen? Would you eat it on camera?
You made me a
for
shiny Chelsea-
for
that
Max
is right, Ramen.
and
Sure,
Steve
yeah.
and Jeff, I'm Dan. We'll see you later.